Martinez. Please welcome him.
Good morning, afternoon, evening. My name is Arturo Martinez, Artie, either one works. I have been asked to come all the way to Ohio to just share a part of my life. So I have, 15, 20, 30 minutes to just give you 19 years of one story. Keep that in mind though, that is just one life. There are thousands of millions of other people out there, just like me, who have it just as hard, even harder than I do. But it's always good. Like they said, stories are always a good way to connect with people. When you make it personal, that's when you step up, and that's when you open your eyes, and that's when you want to make a difference in the world. So we're going to start off in the beginning. I was born in Mexico City, Mexico, March 15th, 1994. The first 5 years of my life I spent in Mexico, and I am sorry to say that I do not recall at all anything about Mexico, except for maybe a little bit of kindergarten. So I have bad memory, I'm sorry. I'm always asked, how is Mexico? Is it as poor as people make it seem? I'm like, I wish I could tell you, but I can't remember. So at 5 years old, my father made the decision to move to the US. Why? Because we were living in a family of three in a small little one-room house off of, I think, like $7 a day while he was working full-time. This is supposed to provide for housing, food, diapers for the baby, everything else that is needed in a normal life. And we couldn't do that. So what is logical for my father? Instead of working 2 jobs in Mexico and making that much money, he decides to seek out a better future and moves to the US. Illegally, of course. So I went fatherless for 1 year, and my mother and I stayed back in Mexico. And after 1 full year, we said, forget it, we're moving with you. So he gathered enough money for the coyotes or the smugglers to move us across the border. And I, in a week, ended up from Mexico City all the way to LaGrange, Georgia, where I will be living for the rest of my life until this past year. I'm in Rochester doing Mennonite volunteer service. So in Georgia is where I recognize pretty much my whole life. You asked me where I'm from, and I'm from Georgia. I was born in Mexico, but I'm from LaGrange. So that's where the story really begins. I am a 6-year-old little Mexican boy in southern Georgia trying to make a life. My dad's working 1 job, my mom's being a mom, trying to make me go to school, but I absolutely hate it. I cannot stand school. It is the worst nightmare of my life. I want to cry every time I go to school. Why? I can't interact with anyone. I am asked questions by other 6-year-old little students just like me, and I don't understand a single word they are telling me. I can't comprehend a simple, hello, how was your day? Or do you want to go play recess with us? I just shake my head, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this kid's talking to me, whatever. Teachers are asking me questions about the ABCs or whatever. I simply cannot understand anything my teacher is asking me. I have no idea how I passed first grade, honestly. The only thing I was good at was math. Math is universal, so that was my strength. Other than that, my story is at that point of 1st/2nd grade is where everything took a huge turn in my life. We all have something that drives us every single day to, continue on, to smile when you get up, to want to become something better, a better person, successful in today's world. In the Mexican culture, Hispanic culture, Latino culture, families are more connected, and I have realized, than any other culture, not in the least. And that is very, very true for my family. I absolutely cannot live without my family. I love them to death. They're all amazing. specific person is my mother, Norma Martinez, her name is, and she is everything to me. For many, many reasons, she brought me to the world. She made me go to school, even if I didn't want to. But at the young age of 6, something happened. A miracle happened. I always wanted a little brother. And I got the wish that I wanted. One day, I think it was like October, I was told that my mom was pregnant. Perfect. I can finally play soccer and video games with my little brother. So in January, Gabriel was born. Gabriel. And maybe, I don't know, a month before he was born, complications start happening in my mother's pregnancy. I am noticing that when I come from school, she's not there, she's in the hospital, I'm told. I have no idea what's going on. I'm a 6-year-old, I can't understand anything that I'm being told. One, because there's a language barrier between my family and the hospital, nurses, doctors. But overall, I just sadly remember seeing my little brother, little thing, and I'm smiling like this is the happiest day of my life. And then I go to see my mother. She's hooked up to all these machines. She's sleeping. She can't even speak to me. And I ask my dad, what's going on? And all I remember is, as a 6-year-old, as a little boy who doesn't know barely any English, I was asked to translate to my father and my mother that for the rest of my life, my mother's kidneys have failed, and she will be in dialysis treatment for the rest of her life. So I had to take like kidneys, riñones, failure, no sirve, all these things I'm trying to munch up, here and there. So I tried to get a sentence out of, your mother's kidneys have failed. And I was, I guess, paid by the nurses $1 and a banana for translating that. So I always tell that story because I didn't realize it at the time, but that's one of the hardest things I've had to do is tell my parents that our lives will be very, very different from now on. So that was the side story. Now back to first grade. First grade and second grade, I missed about 30 days of school total that year because I was sick. Sick as in I was fake throwing up, fake headaches, fake everything, just so that I could be in the hospital with my mother. I did nothing but fake sicknesses so that I could hold her hand and just be with her. I didn't want to go to school. There was no point of me going to school. I didn't understand anything. There is no point for me to go if I can at least be with my mother, with her through these hard times. So that's the first 2 years, first and second grade of my life. Then, as soon as she gains consciousness and she understands that she's going to have dialysis, she gives me a little slap on the head and tells me, "You are going to school from now on. You understand me? You are not skipping school anymore. I will be fine. You make me proud and you become the doctor that you will always want to be." As a 4 or 5-year-old, I was always like, I want to be a doctor. Sure, it switched from like a artist and a soccer player and a karate master, but in the end, I always wanted to be Dr. Artie, Dr. Martinez. So yeah, that was definitely a pep talk from my mother. She's in the hospital bed. She's like, "You are going to school." I'm like, "Yes, ma'am." So I started hitting the books as a third grader. I went from all C's and B's and all these things in first grade, which all count as A's in my opinion, to third grade when things started getting really serious. I started getting all A's. All A's, all A's, all A's. Top of the class, math, all these things. I still hate reading, but I'm doing it anyways. Then that's a gradual little staircase. It's third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, getting to meet friends, actually interacting. I'm feeling a part of this world. I have, all these people around me. My mom's doing okay with her dialysis. Every now and then I have to go to the hospital to translate, so I do have to skip school, but I go. Middle school comes, 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. Everything is great. I'm seeing a great future ahead of me. Getting all these A's, top of my class. A funny little story just to get you guys a little gist of what's going on. All the way from 2nd grade to 8th grade. all those years at Honors Day, the last day of school, you go and you dress up in your little tuxedos. You go and get your little diploma in middle school. We do this every single year. I don't know why. You graduate from 4th grade, but yeah. And every single year, I would get a special certificate. I didn't get the math award, even though I was really good at it. I didn't get the reading award. I got the one award out of all of my class, maybe 90 kids, for being the most behaved, the overall best grades, the overall best, everything. And it was called the Citizenship Award. From 2nd grade, consecutively, all the way to 8th grade, the one immigrant was given the Citizenship Award. And yeah, I was the only Mexican in that whole school. Everyone else was your southern white, kids, So that was always really, really neat to tell. Because I have my little, West Side magnet school, middle school, little collar, and it has like little buttons saying citizenship, 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 citizenship. So that's really neat. And I think that's when you jump into high school, that's when my eyes open to reality. You don't graduate every single year in high school. You only get one graduation in the senior year. So that was not nice for me. I wish I could have gotten more citizenship awards. But overall, you jump into high school and you see a huge change. I mean, of course, everyone sees it. You start seeing, the social classes. You get the nerds and the jocks and all these things. I fitted in with the nerds. I was the geeks, the gamers. But overall, I still kept my studies up. Every single year I got a 4.0. Starting taking AP classes, all these things, I started pushing my limits. Because every single day I come home from school, I see my mother and I'm like, I want to make you proud of me. So I don't know at what point it really just opened my eyes, but I started seeing this is going to be tougher than I thought. Sophomore year, everyone's telling me, when are you getting your permit? I've got my permit. When are you getting yours? I've started applying to the movie theater. I've started applying to Dairy Queen and all these things. When are you getting your job? I'm having all these, classmates telling me, asking me, what's going on with your life? And I'm just like, I don't know. All I say is I don't know. I can't say I can't. I can't say they don't let me, because that's just shameful in my opinion at the time. It's weird for me to tell my classmates, my friends, I simply cannot do the things that you can do. So, I went home one day and asked my mom, why is it again that I can't get a driver's license or, work at a, regular job place? And she's like, it came illegally. We don't have all those rights that all your friends have. So I always have the thought that I have to give 200% effort to not even reap 100% benefits out of my life. And it's been tough. It's been tough going through life, going through high school, going through all these years of my life, knowing that I can't reach my full potential. So it's hard because you get this image in your mind. When you move from Mexico to the US, you have the American dream, the dream to become something big, the dream to do something with your life. My parents gave up their life. They left their family, they left their hometown, their country. And we all moved for a better future, but specifically a better future for their son and their sons in the future, because I have a little brother now. But what's really tough in today's world is that there are laws that block anyone that came here legally from fully achieving what they want. And so I don't really know how to explain it, because it's it's that feeling of, I can do this. I've done this my life. I've built up everything to this point. But what's stopping me? A couple of laws. I applied to 4 colleges and was accepted to all of them last year. My senior year, I was accepted to EMU, Bluffton, Goshen, and Spring River. All of them are, I think, Mennonite colleges. The reason because there's a law simply in Georgia that I can't even apply to public colleges. They don't accept me. I have to go out of my way and spend a spring break of 2010 to go all the way up to North America to see and look for a couple of private colleges that may just accept me. But here's the thing, as a dreamer, you have to look for private colleges and you have to pay out of state. No financial aid, no loans, none of that. So you're talking about the cheapest college that I found up in North was Goshen College, and that's about $32,000 out of pocket. So you're talking about an immigrant family who only has one father figure working a construction job, and you want to pay for your son to go to school to a private college out of state. That's a little tough. So it's a little discouraging. There was a point in my life where I wanted to give up. I was in that same spot I was my first and second grade of school, and I just wanted to say, what's the point? I'm getting all these A's, taking all these AP classes, but why? Because the mentality that hit me was, in the end, I can't even apply to college. And if I can, and I graduate from college, let's say, and I get that certificate, I cannot exercise the career that I want because I don't have a 9-digit number. I don't have a social security, so there's not even a point for me to go and spend all those years, all those thousands of dollars, all that effort to get to a point of just nothing, a brick wall I can't get past. So that was a very, very pessimistic knowledge that I had at the time. There have been a couple of things that have changed lately. Last year, President Obama announced the deferred action. I think it was around July, it passed, and people were allowed to sign up, pay $1,800, and give away every single little detail of your life to become, let's say, halfway legal. So I went through that process. I paid all that money. I saved up all that money from my waiting job at a Mexican restaurant, getting paid only tips. But all that money was saved up, and I had to give all of my records, all of my grades from first, second, to all the way to high school. I had to have every single little thing. I had to have where I lived my whole life. When I came to the U.S., when I moved from my trailer park all the way to a house, where, everything, it felt horrible. I felt like a criminal almost, applying for a benefit. But in the end, I went home for Christmas to Georgia, and I received my little DACA card saying, yay, you're somewhat legal for 2 years. Congratulations, thanks for the $1,800. So those benefits are pretty good though. We went through all that struggle, and now I have a sort of social security card. Even in the front, it says only for working purposes. So I'm like, okay, that's okay. At least I'm getting there. But yeah, so there is light somewhere out there. There is hope. There are some things that are going on in today's world that people are unaware of, but it's happening. So gladly, I got accepted. I was able to fly for the first time in my life from Georgia all the way to Rochester back after a Christmas break. Yesterday, I got my driver's permit. We went to the DMV, and we had to get a BJ's membership in order for me to qualify for the 6 points to get a permit. But so I showed them my deferred action, my social security security and a BJ's membership card. I passed the test, and I'm over here like, this is happening. This is really happening. Like, I'm like, am I happy or am I disappointed? I don't know. It was all these feelings. Same thing when I got the card at Christmas. I looked at it for like a good 30 minutes, and I like looked at my parents, and I was like, so what's now? Like, what's going on now? I have this thing, but I don't know what to do. Am I supposed to be happy? And I really should have been happy, but at the time I was a little like, I just spent all this money, and I have this card in front of me right now, but what's really changed? I was very pessimistic, unfortunately, but there have been a lot of changes. Because I was not able to apply to college in time and jump on a bandwagon and get into debt, I joined Mennonite Voluntary Service for a year. I was very inspired by a lot of couples that my family and another family down in Georgia hosted for mission year. My family, the Martinez, and another family, the Floreses, down in Georgia, became really good friends once we migrated. We created this nonprofit Christian community, and the last 2 years we decided to host mission year couples. So I don't know, as a high schooler and being intentional about living together, meals, having Monday and Tuesday meals together, and being with these couples, and them just telling me their story of, yeah, we came all the way from, Ohio, we came all the way from New York, we came all the way from Indiana and all these places. We came all the way from their states to your house, to your street, to your little town, to give up a year of our lives and just be of service wherever we're put. And that was like really cool to me. I went over here like, that is so cool. Like I thought of like Gandhi when I heard that. I was like, they're like Gandhi, and they're like so cool to me. And they really, really inspired me. So I decided, there really isn't a point for me in college right now. I'm going to do what I think is best. And I had the opportunity to move to Rochester, give up a year of my life to do service. And that's where I am right now. I didn't go to college. I didn't stay at home and, got paid tips for a whole year or so. I instead decided to do intentional living with 2 wonderful housemates and all these wonderful things in New York. So I go from Mexico to Georgia to New York. It's really weird. And now I'm in Ohio talking to you guys. So I don't know, it's just overall the image of immigrants in other people's minds. We all have a different way of looking at people. We all have a different way of, you guys see me as this guy, this little 19-year-old talking to you guys. I see myself as this weird, nervous 19-year-old trying to talk to you guys. It's really weird. We have different perspectives right now. So, but in today's world, all I've experienced have been 2 very polar opposite sides. I don't think I've ever really seen a gray in between. I either see someone that really, really loves my family and what I do and my effort, and they want to help. And then I see those ignorant people who are like, send them back to where they came from. They don't belong here. What are they doing? They're just taking our jobs. They should have come here legally in the first place. That hurt at first. It hurts because you're like, yeah, I don't belong. This isn't my country. But then after a few years of actually, living here, spending my whole life in Georgia, I see myself as an American. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But every time I'm like, where are you from? Georgia. What do you mostly speak? English. I'm told by my mom, Spanish only in the house, English wherever else you want. English is much easier for me. I interact better with English. But yeah, all my friends are American. We all speak English. We all do these things in English. We all do these things in America. I see myself as an American, and I don't know if I should be proud of that, or if I should be ashamed, or if I should be something else. So I don't have a really, really biblical story to tell you guys. But I do recall one little witty thing that I once said, and I gotta thank VeggieTales for this. We were talking about one of my favorite stories, Noah. So Noah gets thrown overboard because all these things. He gets eaten by a whale and gets sent back to Nineveh. We were talking about this in one of our Tuesday meals back in 2010 with our missionary group. And I just out of nowhere had the realization of, oh my gosh, here's this immigrant causing turmoil. He gets thrown overboard, and here comes Border Patrol, the whale, and send him back to where he belongs. In that story, yeah, he was sent to where he belonged. But that's what you always hear in the world. Send them back to where they belong. Where is it that someone belongs? I ask myself. Do you belong where you were born? You were born in this place. You are destined to spend the rest of your life there. I don't know what goes throughout people's minds sometimes. I always hear the country of freedom, of liberty, of the American dream. The world is free. But there are so many people out there that are just blocked, that are stopped by laws, something that you have to obey. And if not, you're a criminal. You're seen as a criminal. It mind blows me sometimes. It's so funny and ironic that we come from a country where immigrants came in and took over. I always see, whenever I go to all these rallies, it's always funny. I always see at least one poster of the Puritans migrating. And I'm always like, that's so cool to me. I always find that so ironic. And it makes me smile and giggle because I'm like, it's so ironic. So I don't know what else to say. It's really tough because throughout years, I've been a high schooler, I've been an activist, I've been to all these rallies. I went to DC back in 2010, did these hundreds of thousands of people just standing there and just speaking up. And we walked a couple of miles in these streets of Washington. And we just shouting, and it really did feel like civil rights movements of today, of the 21st century, because that's what we are. Not just Hispanics, not just Mexicans. There are so many illegal immigrants out there that don't have a voice, that we're just one person or one family. But some of us are so scared and so excluded that we don't want to have a voice sometimes. Because what if, they come to your house and take you away? Because people have that fear. It's so weird coming home from school and I just leave the door open. I'm completely cool with it, But my mom gets on to me and she's like, shut the door, put all 3 locks, get in your room. You have that fear in family, and that's not a good thing. When your mom has to lock every single lock, all 4 of them or all 3 of them in your house at night because she's scared of someone or something in their own house, that's not right. When you can't even go to church and get pulled over because of racial profiling and my dad has been plenty of times been fined at least $1,100 just for driving without a license. What kind of world do we live in? We were heading to church that day on a Sunday, and we got stopped because he had brown skin. He has been put in jail many times, and it's really tough because we're like, what if he doesn't get out this time? What if he's deported? There are so many families out there that are separated. You have a mother from Ecuador, a father from Guatemala, a child that was born here. What happens when you separate that family? My family, the 3 of us are from Mexico, but my older brother is a U.S. citizen. What's going to happen if one day we're separated? What's going to happen if one day my mom is supposed to be deported, but she can't leave LaGrange, Georgia because of her dialysis? She needs to have this treatment to keep her alive. So again, I want to go back to my mother. She's the most inspirational, powerful woman I've ever seen, met, loved. Right now, she's at the point where this is her 11th year in dialysis, and it's been the most difficult thing in the world. At this point, as we speak, she has gone from a wonderful, healthy mother to wonderful, healthy mother with a lot of complications. She has to be in a wheelchair now. So that's been tough. That happened not too long ago, a few months ago. And I remember when I got my card again, my benefits card, my DACA. She said, look, all those marches, all those rallies were worth for something. And she's sitting on a wheelchair, can't even walk. And she reminds me, every single little thing we've done to this point has made a difference. Even if it's just your benefit, she can benefit out of this. The DACA is only dreamers who came here legally, the age of I think 13 and 30, have a high school diploma or are planning on getting a high school diploma and have their records clean, no felonies, nothing like that. Those are the ones that are maybe chosen for the DACA. So I wasn't the one that benefited my family from this new law. But to hear her say in a wheelchair, all those marches, all those protests, all those speeches you've given have made a difference. And that brought tears to my eye, and I was like, oh my gosh. Because, I don't know, she would be out there marching right now if it wasn't for a wheelchair. She might even be marching right now, having my dad push her in a wheelchair. I never know. She's that strong. But there's a reason that, she said that, and it hit me. All these things that I do, all these things that we do, as a family, as Alterna in our community, back in Georgia, as Malone, if we stand up and speak and shout and march together, we will be seen as a force. We will be seen as a voice for those that don't have a voice or that are too scared to have a voice. My mother was told by my aunt once, you need to stop protesting so much. You need to stop speaking up so much. You're just going to make it more angry, and they're not going to want to do anything for you. You just got to let God handle this, my aunt said. You got to pray. You're not praying enough. She had the best intentions in saying that. But what my mother said back was, we pray with our feet. There is a different kind of praying out there. And if you pray and act, if you combine praying and acting together, it seems much more powerful, in my opinion. Because you're making a difference. You're making an effort to go out there and change the world. And that's why I'm here, to let you guys know that there are benefits, there are positive consequences, where all these wonderful things do happen. You just got to speak up. You're taught in your high school and your school career the whole time. Martin Luther King did this. What if he didn't? What if he had just sat down, gave up, and said, I'm just going to pray to God, maybe he'll do something one day. He prayed with his feet. He acted upon what he thought was best. That really opened my eyes to me. And so I just kind of wanted to give you guys a heads up on what my plan is for the rest of my life, and what I hope you guys have been, exposed to or opened your eyes to. To know that there are so many people out there that have their own story. Some of them are much more positive, some of them are much more negative. People have given up their freedom. People have been arrested. Civil disobedience to speak up, but sadly they can't be bailed out. Once they were arrested, they made that choice, and they are now in the process of being deported because they wanted to make a difference, and they thought that was what was best. There are a lot of sacrifices being done. A lot of people are leaving their normal lives to make a better one, and that's what my family did. That's what we did as a family. And I will one day become a doctor, I tell myself. I'm going to do it. I'm seeing the changes. I'm seeing my permit in my pocket. my driver's license in a few weeks, hopefully. My applications are all accepted. One day I will go to college, and I will become a nurse practitioner, or a doctor. One of those wonderful things, because as a kid, that was my dream. That was something that I always had an image of. I have the potential. Everyone has the